Trump actually got upset with me because, and here's the great irony, the richest irony, the Daily Beast ran a headline regarding that live Instagram that you just heard from me. And the headline was, Candace Owens says Trump is pro-vax because he's too old to understand the internet. I'm telling you this personal story because I think it is something that made me for the first time question him as a person. So you have an individual that spent years defending you, right? And that individual gave you a completely kind and fair interview. You said something yourself that your base didn't like, and you somehow transformed that into something that I did wrong.
Candace Owens is learning something about Donald Trump that everyone else knew already because it's hitting her now. Candace Owens is talking about a bit of an uncomfortable interaction that she's having with Donald Trump. More specifically, something that she's learned about Donald Trump that he's been showing us since he's even been in existence. But it's just now coming to fruition. I'm glad that she's figuring it out. This is all surrounding this interview that she had about a year ago with Donald Trump about the COVID vaccines. He's on board for it because he said it saved his life. And she mentioned how he just gets caught up with these things on the internet. Maybe he doesn't understand it all because many of his followers were very upset about it. So she's trying to explain it away. Instead, it just took a turn and the target came back on her. Now she's talking about how this misdirected anger at her, which she didn't really say these things. She's gonna defend herself, but someone else was in Trump's ear. Another thing that no one's ever heard of. People can talk in Trump's ear and convince him of random things. That's weird. Let's let Candace Owens talk about that.
I never once called Trump too old. I never once said that Trump could not understand the internet. And yet somehow he got that information and believed it to be true. He thought that I said that he was too old and that he couldn't understand the internet and did not quite get the information that actually what I was saying was a defense of him so that his supporters would still believe in him. Not only was he just mad, by the way, he then, during a golf session with some mutual friends of ours, had a person next to him who was egging this on, saying to Trump, and I know this because again, this is a mutual friend, aren't you mad at Candace? Aren't you mad at Candace? Aren't you mad at Candace? And eventually he was like, yeah, I'm so mad at Candace. I'm so mad at Candace. And this got back to me that he was upset with me, that he was angry at me. And the next time that I saw him, he was quite rude to me. He was actually rude to me.
It's a surprise, Yaz. Someone got in his ear. You said one thing about him. Maybe some people took it the way you meant it and others didn't. And then someone else said, aren't you mad? Aren't you mad? Aren't you mad? Sounds like some middle school talk, but he came at you sideways. That's when she got offended. Not when he came at anyone else sideways. Not when he called other folks that are in conservative circles, the Republican Party, well-known officials, dogging them out. All that's fine. It's once it finally comes for you. I feel like there's a saying about it, how it finally comes for you and then no one else is there to defend you. I believe we're at that point. There's a few more things that happen, you guys, but just off the top, because as she goes through more of this, what she's actually concerned about is how this has become so public and now it's making her look bad and all this good stuff. But just this preliminary fight, I still don't know how folks that were in support of him, that were his good buddies, that were his friends and colleagues, still get attacked and don't realize who it is that they're dealing with.
Yeah, and something she said this was the first time that she questioned Trump as a person. Like, how is that the first time that you questioned him as a person? The problem with political punditry, and I recognize the irony of me saying this on a program like this one, but your words carry a lot of weight, especially if you have a platform as big as the one that Candace Owens has, right? She acts like the fact that she never had a particular revelation, like she missed all of the red flags about Trump, right? It's like nobody else could have possibly seen through the things that she missed. No one else could have gotten to a particular conclusion before she did, right? And the fact of the matter is, no, everyone saw it. Everyone's been telling you this was going to happen. Everyone saw the red flags, you missed it. But it's like, I don't know if it's an inflated ego thing or if she has to save face because she's a public figure now or what. But it's like, you missed this, this is your bad, that's it.
Yeah, as the fights happen though, what she doesn't want is it to be in public. Let's watch this because it has some shades of things that happened between her and Ben Shapiro earlier this week or late last week. Let's watch more.
That's unacceptable. That is not being a leader. That is not owning things that you did wrong. That is not owning that you misunderstood something about your base. That's not growing, that's not developing. In fact, he should have tried to understand why the base was so upset with him, which would have led to the fact that his base is not pro-COVID vaccine. It's that simple. I understood that, I could have told him that, But at that moment, I realized that he's not listening. Who is this guy next to him trying to egg him on to be angry at me for trying to defend him, say that he's not a shill, to say, no, actually, I think that he genuinely does support the vaccines. He did genuinely support the vaccines. Maybe there's a paranoia potentially that's setting in, that he believes that his friends, now me, oh my God, how could you say I was too old? I read the headline on the Daily Beast, that's what she said. I didn't say that, right? If you thought I said that, you should have been a decent human being. You should have picked up the phone and you should have called me.
There's that last part. Before, Ben Shapiro, who also works with her, started the whole thing over Daily Wire, part of one of the founders, I believe. He was upset of her support for Kanye West and said, you know what, she would have been fired if she actually said what he said, but at least she was just supporting her friend. And all this he said publicly on Twitter. And part of her response was, you could have called me and said this directly. We don't have to have this in a theater style debate thing on Twitter. She doesn't want these things happening publicly because that's gonna break this whole mold of how perfect and unionized and together their entire group is. But they're still following Donald Trump. There's nothing that's gonna be together and with any kind of unity under Donald Trump, unless it's about kissing Donald Trump's unified ass. That's what he's concerned with. She's just learning this, but she's got one more thing to say.
He's not running against DeSantis right now, right? DeSantis is running for governor. I know Trump voted for him and all of that's great. Why take a random swing, right? I think the base is feeling that trepidation. They're not sure who to listen to on endorsements. They're wondering about what the leadership looks like. And I think that I am not at all under any impression that Trump can't win in 2024. No, what I am saying is that Trump needs to take a good look in the mirror, and he needs to take a good look in the room, and he needs to read the room accurately. He needs to take a look at those that are around him that are inspiring this paranoia and making him believe that everyone's out to get him, including his friends. And he needs to exercise a tiny bit more humility when he gets something wrong.
A tiny bit more humility, not much more, just a tiny bit more. And my last thing on this, yes, she points out how now, because everything's so confusing for Trump supporters, MAGA in general, they don't know who to vote for. The endorsements are confusing. They don't know what to think. I thought this is the party of free thinkers and people who don't follow and kowtow behind what one politician says and just believe it based off of absolutely nothing else except for that. Or is that actually this party?
Yeah, they're the not sheep, right? We're the ones that are the sheep. She's sad that Trump is incompetent, that he doesn't listen, that he's irrational, paranoid, that he's arrogant. It's ridiculous. We've been saying all these things from the beginning. She's either a terrible judge of character, or what's more likely, she's been kissing that Trump ass, which involves lying to or at least misleading her audience in an effort to push a narrative or an agenda or to find some kind of acceptance within a group. And that, part of that's Candace Owens' problem that she needs to address.
And that makes people money and it gets them supporters and followers. And that's what they've all got now, except this guy at the top is falling apart.